Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Nice to see you in here, Mary. Hope you're having a good day. Um, Today is our first session for our last week. So this is the week where we're going to be finishing everything up. So today, first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about what our assignments are for this week and how we're going to accomplish those. I'm going to do some examples, going over a little bit about how to get files ready to go on to Behance, just to make sure that everyone's clear on the best way to get those, excuse me, to get those optimized in order to work well on their site. And then we're going to do just one last round of critiques. Now, your assignment for this week is not to do revisions like it was in previous weeks, but you are going to be graded on your overall portfolio. And the things we're going to be going over this week and these revisions are going to be additional things that are still needing to be changed in order to bring these up to a professional level. So you may want to take some time to make the changes to the critiques before getting them all finalized on your portfolio and doing your presentation for this week. Excuse me. So let's start off. Let's go into the class here real quick. First of all, I got all the grading done for everything that was submitted as of yesterday. So be sure and go into the grade book and take a look at those. I have not yet posted Christy's times for this week. Why don't I just do that while we are in here together so you can see when she's available. Let's see here. Okay, here is her week 4 times. Yep. Post those in here. Okay, so for this week, Christy's going to have time tomorrow from 12 to 7, Thursday from 4 to 9, and Friday from 5 to 10, and then Saturday from 5 to 10. Sorry about that. I've got this cough today. This will not go away. Anyway, so make sure and take advantage of her time if you need some help. And of course, the Student Success Center is open quite a bit this week as well. So if it's a time when Christy isn't available, the Student Success Center should be able to help. Now, let's go take a look at our work for the week. So starting with the smaller one, we have this career integration piece here that's just a quick quiz. So it's worth 15 points. Just a quick thing that goes over a little bit about your experience here in the class this month. We do these in order to be able to continue to improve these courses over time. So just take a minute, go in there and answer those questions. But the bulk of what we are doing this week is this presentation of our final portfolio and then a LinkedIn profile as well. Okay. So this says, can you believe you are almost done? Now for the final stretch. In this final push, you will make any final tweaks on your projects and update your Behance websites and LinkedIn portfolio. When you have everything ready for the world to see, prepare, rehearse, and record a presentation of your Behance portfolio. Tips and presentation skills we talked about in Monday's live session to help you with your presentation. I'm not sure why it says Monday in there, but in this live session today. So this has 3 parts. A completed LinkedIn portfolio. Now, That's very simple to do. If you very likely have done this in another course, but if you just go to linkedin.com and go ahead and either, if you don't have a LinkedIn account, just create one, okay? If you do, just go in and make sure that your portfolio is up to date, okay? So you go in here and you go to your profile and you can just edit that profile. You've got all these little tags next to it to edit it, and make sure that it is current so that's ready for you to use for networking when you graduate. Okay, so that's part one. That's worth 20 points of this. Part two, that all of your projects are brought up to portfolio standards for your final presentation. So making some revisions based upon what we go over today and on Thursday, and then making, and then you're going to put together all your finalized projects in a portfolio or in a PDF, okay? So you are putting all these on Behance, but you're also going to be submitting one more PDF here to me, okay? You're not just submitting your Behance link. You're going to do one more time, put all of your finished projects in a portfolio, in a PDF, and this is everything that you're putting onto Behance, okay? So we're going to have, again, all of your flats. If you're, for example, if you've done one of your projects as billboards, you're going to have the flat of the billboard and you're going to have the mock-up of the billboard. So that flat and that mock-up needs to be on Behance, and that flat and that mock-up needs to be in this PDF. Now, you might have a mock-up for everything, and that's fine. What you need to have is a flat for everything. There's not one project should not have a flat. Some of your projects may not have a mock-up, and that's fine. You should have a mock-up in certain, if it's a billboard, you should have a mock-up. If it's a wine bottle, you should have a mock-up. If it's a packaging tea box, you should have a mock-up. Stationery, you should have a mock-up. But some of you won't have a mock-up, and that's totally fine. But make sure you have a flat of everything. The flats are the priority, and then the mock-ups are there as a secondary tool in order to help people better visualize your design in the real world. Okay? So again, you're going to make a PDF with all your finalized projects, all the ones that you've put on Behance, and you're going to submit that for part two. Okay? But they have to be in both places. They have to be on your PDF and they need to be on Behance. Now, this could be a little confusing. It says complete PDF of all finalized projects to Behance. As we're going to go over today, and as you've probably seen working this before, you can't upload a PDF to Behance. When it's talking about the PDF, they're talking about what to submit here in the class. We're going to go over today creating optimized JPEGs or PNGs in order to go on Behance, and you're going to have to do that with all of your pieces in order to get them on Behance. Okay? And then the last step of this is you're going to record a presentation of your Behance web portfolio and post it on YouTube or Vimeo. Okay? Now we're going to talk more about that in a minute. So here's some further instructions on your LinkedIn profile. Create or update your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is a great way to network and use its integrated job hunt search engine. Setting up your profile in a professional manner will add to your opportunities to get hired. Once your profile is set up, be sure to add relevant connections, okay? This isn't Facebook, this is your career. Choose your connections carefully. Choose people you feel can give you recommendations and help you expand your career opportunities. So if you haven't already, for example, you may want to invite current or former instructors to connect with you on LinkedIn, or classmates, people that you've worked with during your time here in school, any local business owners things like that. So what must be included in your profile? Here's the minimum things we're going to be looking for to see if you've done this first part. A professional-looking photo of yourself. Professional-looking being the key there. Experience should be geared toward your future goals if possible, but any job you have had will show a prospective employer your experience. A job selling clothing in a department store shows customer service. Secretarial work shows organization. You get the idea. Education. Only include completed degrees except IU, okay? So what that means is you can put IU on there, but other than that, only put other degrees if you've completed them, not partials. If you attended other colleges but did not obtain a degree, do not include it. If high school was more than 10 years ago, it may not be necessary unless you have obtained another degree since then, unless you haven't obtained another degree since then. Continuing education courses could be applicable. If you're not sure about whether you should put something in there or not, ask me, okay? Skills and endorsements. List your skill level in the Adobe programs. Include your strengths in general categories like typography, etc. Portfolio pieces. You can add portfolio pieces to LinkedIn, okay? And then also make sure there's a link on there to your Behance site. So someone who's looking at your LinkedIn portfolio or LinkedIn profile can click on the Behance link and look at your full portfolio if they'd like to. Now, some additional things you can include in there. Any honors or awards that you may have earned. If you made honor roll or higher, put them in. Organizations, if you're a member of AIGA or other design-related organizations, put those in. If you have any certifications, for example, you can add your lynda.com certifications on LinkedIn when you've finished a course in there. Link to your Muse portfolio website if you have one, okay? So for this part of it, you're gonna make sure all that stuff's in there, and then you're gonna submit your URL to the LinkedIn profile, okay? So make sure, don't forget that in your in your week 4 submission. I need that URL for your LinkedIn profile. That can just be put in the comments. That can be on a Word document that you submit as well. It doesn't matter to me as long as it gets submitted somehow. Okay. Any questions about the LinkedIn part of this? All right. So, instructions for your finalized project submission. Again, we're going to create a single multi-page PDF that does not exceed 15 megabytes of all the projects that you have uploaded to Behance. So the ones for this class. Name and submit it, the PDF, design250 underscore final portfolio underscore and your first, last, and last name .pdf. Make sure that everything has been uploaded to your Behance site and submit a URL to your Behance websites, okay? So for the part 2 of this, you're actually submitting 2 things. You're submitting that PDF that has all the projects in it, and then you're submitting the URL to your Behance website, or or your Muse site, whichever. If you're doing both or one or the other, you don't have to have both, so don't worry if you don't. But just make sure what you do have, you submit the URL to it so that I can grade that. Okay. And then instructions for your presentation. Your presentation should take between 5 and 15 minutes. So look at the clock when you're doing it. If you did a presentation, you got done in 1.5 minutes, you need to do it again, slow down, give more, spend more time talking about your pieces, get that up to at least 5 minutes. Prepare an agenda of what you are going to show, okay? So I would highly recommend writing an outline. That's what they're talking about with this agenda. Write an outline that you can quickly glance at. You can print this out and have it there next to you. That just gives you the key points that you're planning on talking about. That way you'll be able to stay on track when you're giving the presentation. Things will flow more smoothly. And also you will, excuse me, make sure to hit all the points that you thought about, not get lost in the middle thinking, shoot, there was something else I was going to talk about. I can't remember what it was. So just make an outline. Think about this ahead of time. How am I going to go through this? What things am I going to say about these things? And make an outline for it. And practice. Practicing is a huge thing. Now, write down your introduction and talking points for each project, like I was saying there. Check and make sure your site loads quickly, and practice navigating from project to project until you can do it without hunting for anything. Rehearse your presentation with your talking points and moving from project to project piece and time it. Now, it says use Zoom or QuickTime to record your presentation. We're going to talk about how to do this with QuickTime in just a moment. Make sure you have your website open and on the page you want to start at before you start recording. After you've recorded and saved the recording, watch the recording before you upload it to make sure everything recorded correctly. There's no resubmits for this final presentation. And this is very important. Definitely watch it. One of the biggest things that can go wrong is you can have no audio, okay? In both cases, that's easy to do. So, and I mean, as you've seen, us instructors do that from time to time. So make sure and watch it before you submit it, because if it gets to where I'm grading it and there's no audio, there's no way to resubmit it, and you just won't get full credit for it. Then you're going to upload that recording to YouTube or to Vimeo and make sure it runs smoothly on that site, and submit the URL of the recording. Okay. So as far as things you're going to be submitting this week, you've got 3 URLs, 3 web addresses that you're submitting, and then the PDF. The 3 web addresses are the web address for your LinkedIn profile, the web address for your Behance portfolio or your Muse portfolio or both, and then the URL for your presentation video that will be on YouTube or on Vimeo. Okay, and then you've got the PDF. So, any questions about what you are doing or submitting for this week? All right. Now I'm going to show you real quick how to make a recording using QuickTime. If you don't have Muse, Mary, that's completely fine. We just need to have Behance or Muse. If some students have done both, and that's great, and submit them both if you have. But as long as you're submitting a Behance link, you're done. You're done. You don't need to have Muse as well. So QuickTime Player is a program that you should all have on your Macs. And if I launch QuickTime Player, okay, I'm just going to say done. So I open the QuickTime Player, and you can see right here it says QuickTime Player up here in my menu. All I need to do is go to File and New Screen Recording. Okay, I'm going to do New Screen Recording. Now, here in this New Screen Recording, there's one thing that I absolutely need to do before I start recording, or I'm going to have to re-record it. That's little arrow that's to the right of this record button. If I click on that arrow, this is asking what microphone I want to use for my audio. And you'll notice that none is checked, meaning that I'm not going to get any audio at all if I just start recording right now. So you would just want to switch this to internal microphone. Switching it to internal microphone will use your computer's microphone in order to record. And then you're just going to click this record button, and it'll do a little countdown, and your stop buttons will move up here to the menu bar over on the right. So when you're done recording, you can come up there and just click stop on the menu bar up on the right. When you've done recording it, it'll just open up the recording as a big file here. And at that point, you can just go File and Save right here, and it'll save that recording. You can just save it on your computer for uploading. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. The biggest thing to remember, though, is to click this little arrow and switch the audio to internal microphone, or you're not going to get any audio. Okay, now I would recommend doing just a couple of tests to make sure you're understanding how this is working before you go into the whole recording. Just set up a screen recording, hit record, and say, hey, how you doing? There's a test. How is this working? And then stop the recording and play the recording back and make sure that it all worked correctly. Make sure you can see your screen. Maybe open a couple of windows and close them. Make sure you can hear yourself talking. And that way everything went smoothly and you're ready to do that recording for your actual presentation. Okay? So any questions on that? Any questions on making a screen recording? All right. Now, once you have that recording made, as it says, you've got 2 places you can upload it to. You can upload it to YouTube, or you can upload it to Vimeo. Both are pretty straightforward. If you go to YouTube, so I do this every week, a few times a week when I'm doing our class recordings. Let me go over to our class recording account here. So the first thing, if you don't have a YouTube account, you're going to have to set up a YouTube account. Okay, so go, I believe it's in here. Or actually, you'll probably do it up here. So I'm logged in. So if I click sign out, I'd be able to log in again. But come click up in here, and if either log into your Google account if you have one, or set one up if you don't, because you're going to need that before you upload it. Okay. Then you've got this little arrow here, arrow pointing up that says upload. All you do is click on that. Okay, and you've got some different options as far as how you want your file to upload. Public means that anyone could find it. They could just be searching around and come across your video and watch it. Unlisted means that anyone could watch it as long as they have the web address. So this is, for example, unlisted is what I put all of our class videos as. So what that means is if I put, when I post the link in our class and you click on that link, you can watch the video. You can send that link to anyone and they could watch the video, but no one's going to come across the video just browsing around YouTube. It's not like in the search section. It's not going to link to it as maybe you'd like this video. It's just, it's semi-private. The only way someone's going to find it is if they have that actual link and go there and watch it. And that's the one that I'd recommend using. Private is the other one. And with private, you have to actually give permission to specific people in order to see it, and no one else can. But that one's a little more complicated and would be, could run into difficulties with me being able to watch it when you upload it. So my recommendation would make it unlisted, okay? And all you're gonna do is just drag your file right into this place here, and it'll start uploading it. So let me grab, we'll just redo one of our Zoom ones here so you can see that. Okay, so here is a Zoom video. Or actually, let's go to one of the new ones. Okay, so here's a Zoom video. I'm just dragging it right onto there, and it pops in. Now, this is the name of the video where it says Zoom 0. It got that from the name of the file. So if I'd named my file my Design 250 presentation, that's what would be there. But it doesn't really matter, because from now, I can go and I can change that. I can say test video for Design 250 is what I'm calling this one, okay? And I can type a description down here. If I forgot to change it to unlisted, I can still do that over here. And the whole time I'm making these changes, it's uploading the video. You can see right here, it says uploading 47, 48, going forward. Once I've made the changes that I want to make, I'm just going to click on done. And it just, saved that name and stuff, but it's continuing to upload my video. Now, getting in this on YouTube is a two-step process. First, it's going to upload it, okay? Then it's going to process the video. Now, I cannot close the window while it's uploading. If I close the window when it's uploading, it's going to stop uploading it, and it's not going to go onto YouTube, okay? So at the very least, I need to leave this going until this uploading thing is finished. And the uploading thing's pretty quick. Usually doesn't take very long to upload it, as you can see. But now it's done uploading. Now it's processing, okay? So I can just wait here for it to finish processing, and when it's done, it'll say, hey, your video's done. Here's the link. Or I can close the window now. I don't need to wait here. If I close the window, then later on when it's done processing, it'll actually send me an email that says your video's on YouTube now, and the link to my video will be in that email. Or here's what the link is going to be when it's done right here. So I could copy this link right now. Now, don't just copy this and submit it before it's done processing, because you'll want to double check to make sure the video works well. But you could copy this and put it in a Word document, or just a note on your computer, and then come back later and watch it to make sure that it worked okay. Also, if all else fails, you can get to all of your videos by just clicking over here, going to My Channel, and then going to Uploads. And you can see here's all my videos that I've uploaded, and so it would just be the most recent one. as soon as it's done processing. Okay, so that's uploading a video to YouTube. It's very simple. Vimeo is very similar. I would just go to vimeo.com. And I would need to join it, set up an account, and then my upload button is right here. Just click on upload, choose my files to upload. Here's the privacy. Anyone can see it. Only I can see it. Only people I follow. Only people with a password. Only people I choose. So you're going to want to do anyone can see if you do Vimeo, because otherwise I won't be able to get into it and see it. Okay. So, any questions on preparing or uploading your video online so you have that URL to submit? Okay. Then let's talk next about preparing files optimally to go to Behance. Okay. We want to be exporting our files optimized for the web, okay? And we want to make sure that they're high enough resolution, but we want to make sure they're also an optimal resolution to load quickly and to look good on Behance. Ideally, we want them all to have the same width, okay? And then the height will vary based upon the dimensions of the page. Now, if I go here and I type in, what is the ideal file size for Behance? Okay, and so I've got this link to this this help document. What is the size limit for uploading files? And if you come down and read right here, it says any image larger than 1200 pixels wide will be automatically resized to 1200 pixels to fit the project canvas. You can choose or expand, ignore the full bleeds information, okay? And then it says anything smaller than 1200 pixels will display at the size that it's uploaded. So if you upload something that's 400 pixels wide, that's what it's going to show as. It's going to look much smaller than the rest of them. If you do 1000 pixels, that's going to show as. But the biggest is 1200 pixels, okay? So in order to have the ideal resolution, I would recommend exporting all of your projects either at 1000 pixels or 1200 pixels. I wouldn't go any lower than 1000, okay? But let's just say, I want to stick it at 1200. That's my highest resolution I can get on there and look good, okay? So we're going to pretend, let's open up Photoshop. And let's open a nice high resolution image. Okay. So this B, if you go to my image size, and let's put this in pixels. This B is 2,880 pixels wide, okay? So this, if I were to upload this at full resolution, it would never show it any more than 1,200 pixels wide. And that would just be a waste of my space, a waste of loading time, not optimized for the web. Now, again, remember, we also have to worry about our resolution. For looking good on the web, it needs to be at least 72 pixels per inch. So your files should be high enough resolution that we can export them at least 1000 pixels wide at 72 pixels per inch, okay? If yours are not high enough resolution to do that, then they're not high enough resolution to look good on Behance. And you'll want to redo them at a higher resolution. So I'm going to go to File, and I am going to go to Export, and I can do this quick save for the web. That's a legacy one, but that works pretty well for getting it optimized. Or I can just export as here. I haven't played around with export as here as much. Okay, so here's my export as, right? Now here's my format. I need this to either be a PNG or a JPEG, okay? I personally prefer PNG for the web just because of the color handling, but it doesn't really matter what you do. You can do PNG or JPEG. But at this point now, I need to come down and make some changes. So I want my width to be, we'll do 1200, okay? So this is going to scale down by that much, but I want this to be 1200 pixels wide. The height automatically changed in order to have the same proportions that it had before. But for now, I just want this to be 1200 pixels wide, okay? Now that I've got that set like that, I can go over and just say export all. And let's save this to my desktop. And now this picture is at my optimal resolution in order to put it on to Behance. And in order for these to look great, all lined up with each other, I'm going to do all mine at 1200. Okay? So we just did that through the regular export as. I can also do export and just save for the web. And in here, I'm going to just change this to JPEG. And down here is where I would do the size. Okay? So same basic thing. Now you'll notice this is actually making a smaller file, doing the save for the web, because I've got this under optimized. Okay? Right here, that's double checked for optimized. So let's change this, call this one optimized. So if you're having space issues, this is the save for the web. It's a legacy one. It's not their newest one, but it works well. Where did I just save that to? Did it go into downloads? Huh. Interesting. Where did I save you? In documents. Okay, so let's go look in documents, find that. There it is. Okay, so here I have these two images. They're both the same resolution. The one on the left is the PNG, and if you like, it's probably hard to see through Zoom, but in my eye, the colors are a little bit better on that one. But this is a smaller file size. So if I'm having size issues, I want to use that save for the web. You'll see that my optimized one is 220 kilobytes. My this one is 1.8 megabytes. So you're talking about what 9 times as big. Okay, so it makes a pretty big difference. So if you're running into file size issues, if Behance is saying it's too big to upload, then use the file, export, save for the web, and just make sure you're on JPEG and make sure that you're at optimized and optimize is checked, and then set your width here to 1000 or 1200 and export it. Okay, so that is it in Photoshop. If I am in Illustrator, pull up an Illustrator file here. Okay. So if I'm an illustrator now and I want to export this, then what I'm going to do again, I'm going to go File, Export, and Save for the web. Okay. And again here, well, we can try, let's do their new export for screens. I haven't actually tried this yet, but so ignore what I'm doing for a second. Yeah, don't worry about this one. So again, File, Export, Save for the web. And I'm going to change this to a JPEG. Okay, I've got optimized checked right there. And I want my width to be 1,000 pixels, or I could do our 1,200 if I'm going the same as the other one. Now remember, this wasn't the original width of this, but this is a vector image, so that's okay. It can scale. All right. If I were to do this on a Photoshop file or an InDesign file, I'd have a problem. I need to be the same or smaller than my original in those files because of the nature of raster images. But because I'm on a vector image here, I can scale up. Okay, so I'm going to make that to 1,200, and I'm just going to go ahead and say that I want to save that. Let's save that to the desktop. And here I have a JPEG that is optimized. Let's look at the file size, 108 kilobytes, really small, nice looking, at 1,200 pixels wide, so the same width as my B, and all ready to upload to Behance. Okay. So last, let's take a look at an InDesign file. All right, now I'm missing some links here, so I wouldn't actually want to do that with this one. I need to make sure and find those links, but we're going to assume that we're in yours and you've got your links and we're ready to upload this. And I'm going to go to File, and let's see. We're going to export this as a JPEG. Okay. And with these ones, trying to remember the best way here. Got 72 pixels per inch. Okay. And there it is, making my JPEGs for each of my magazine pages. Now let's take a look at the size that put that as. 83 kilobytes, perfect. And it's less than 72 pixels wide, but that's because it's letter size, so that's kind of a set size. And if I were to go any bigger on this, I'm going to lose resolution width-wise because these are raster images. So I'm going to let this one stay at that. Okay, but you see that brought all these out here. All is JPEGs, all ready to go with all my pages. Okay, so that's what you're going to want to do in order to get your files prepared to go on to Behance. Any questions at all about that? Now, Mary, I know you were having a hard time getting some of your files to upload to Behance. Did it give you a specific message when it wouldn't do it? Because the thing I'm wondering if maybe the files were too big, because I know that happens sometimes, and if maybe you were to optimize it this way, that might help it to go up normally. Okay. It said you had to change the color, like from to RGB. Is that what the issue was? Okay, so that's what program were you exporting from on that? Were you exporting from InDesign or from Photoshop, Illustrator? Okay, because you can so if I'm in Illustrator here and I'm doing that export for web. Um, I was hoping there'd be a quick way to change the color in here. I would guess that this is going to change it to RGB, just because of the fact that this is a optimizing for web. But let's find out. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to change my document color mode to CMYK. So now this is a CMYK file. I'm going to go and export this for web. And I'm just going to do the same things I did before. Set that. Let's just go to 1,000 wide. And I wonder if it's in. No. We'll stay there. Okay. So let's try saving this. And let's see if this changes that to RGB or if it keeps it as CMYK. So that changed that to RGB, Mary. So as long as you are exporting it using that save for web, it should automatically change it to RGB when making that web file. Okay. All right. So make sure when you are setting up your Behance page, again, be thinking of organization. If you've got a few different types, if you've got a few different things of the same type, like maybe you've got your packaging for a tea box and packaging for the milk carton, or packaging for the wine bottle and packaging for the tea box. Make sure those are by each other. You don't want to have it go tea box, billboard, wine bottle. But, try to be thinking, okay, so let's keep my packaging together. Let's keep my identity work together. Logo, stationery, stuff like that. Let's keep my billboard stuff together, and think of that sort of proximity when you are laying out your portfolio. Also, make sure that if you've got a flat and a mock-up, that they're together. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to spend the rest of the class today just doing, more feedback on the week 3 submissions. So let's go ahead and let's take our 15-minute break before we get started on that. And then we come back, we will jump right into revisions. I'm going to go ahead and set a timer here. And I will see you in 15. Okay, we are back. Let me pop that up, and we are going to take a look at everyone's portfolio one more time. Can you hear me again? Should double check, make sure my audio is working again. Okay, perfect. All right. So here we are with Donna's. You can see we've got a nice mock-up here of the wine bottle. Now, usually, the only thing, try to make sure that your label's going, doesn't go quite this low. Usually on a wine bottle, it stays a little higher. But overall, that's a nice looking mock-up. We've got some mock-ups on of this here. Let's go back to the flat and just double check everything. Again, make sure on this flat that your color is extending all the way out to the bleeds. So we've got this bleed section out here. And we want to make sure that color moves all the way out to it on these packaging flats. And also check this. We've got some odd lines showing up in the pattern right here. See how it's doing some weird things there with that. So come in and try to clean up the pattern at that point. All right. And then there's a typo here. I noticed this. It should be sulfates, so a U there instead of an A in that word. And here you actually have it. Where was it? There we go. So here you can see you've got it spelled correctly there. Just make sure it's that same way in both places. All right. Now with this, again, just double check. To me, this image looks a little bit stretched. So just double check that it's not. And same with this text, feels a bit stretched. You see out here with this fun on the sun, you've got these letters nice and tight together. And on this one, they seem to be getting kind of pulled apart. Now that could just be the italic, but just double check that that's not stretched there. It's kind of giving this first billboard an overall stretched feeling to it. And we've got some good mock-ups of these ones. So that's great. All right, on your menu. Now on this, again, we've got this salad picture looks stretched to me. So make sure go in there, double check that it's not. And then also with this pattern, you've got these lines. Extend that line down to align with the bottom of the image there, and extend this line over to align with the left of the image there. You'll notice that if you go up here, your line is aligning with the top of this image on the top. And this one over here is aligning to the right of that image. So that looks really good. We just want to bring that same thing going on down here at the bottom. Align that to the bottom of the image, align this to the left of the image. And just double check. This could be a trick of the eyes or the PDF. And I mean, maybe you did it on purpose. Maybe it was just because it's his signature salad. But it looks like Gino's signature salad is bolded, where the rest of them are not. And it's such a mild bold that it doesn't really create much contrast. Um, but I mean, if you did that on purpose to bring some attention to it, then that's fine. But if it's accidentally bolded, just double check that and turn it off. Okay. And here, get rid of the S on Gino's combinations. It should just be Gino's combination. And let's see here. On this fried veggies, it looks like you have 2 spaces between fried and veggies, but then no space between it and the price. So make sure and get rid of the extra space there, and then put a space between it and the price there. This Geno's Giant Meatballs is in a different font from your stuff with flavor, baked perfection. So make sure that you've got the same font here for Geno's Giant Meatballs. And you've got, again, commas. Your cheese dips is 1,00, and broccoli dip 1,00. Make sure and change those to periods. And the cheese bread is missing the period, so it says 300 instead of $3. So make sure to add the period there. Okay. And you did a good job bringing this out to the guy, to the bleeds on this one. Let's see here. So one thing I should have noticed earlier, but we've got raspberry spelled wrong here. Raspberry is actually spelled with a P after the S. R-A-S-P, it's raspberry. So make sure and change that spelling anytime it says raspberry in here. I noted in the ingredients it's there, in the names around here. Make sure and put that P in after the S. And I would probably, this whole to learn about teas section, I just shift it down a hair so it's not quite so close to that green line above it. Nice mock-up on that one. All right, like your mock-up there. On your Walmart one, so you've got space after these paragraphs here, but you've got 2 paragraphs right here with no space between them. So just make sure and put some space in between these 2 paragraphs. And double check that your spacing between each section is the same. For example, if you look at the space between this track your progress section and the stay motivated section, it looks like it's more space than it is between the stay motivated, you'll be glad you started section. Just make sure you've got equal spacing between all of your paragraphs. And I would keep your leading the same. The leading gets quite a bit bigger here on this panel. You've got almost like double spacing over here. I would keep that the same as your leading throughout the rest of the guide. And to avoid this orphan here of diabetes, just do a soft return before the word type. It would say reduce your risk of or manage, and then on the next line it would say type 2 diabetes. All right, and this mock-up turned out pretty good. There's just one on this side of it. It's doing an odd thing where you see how that's like lining there, and then all of a sudden it juts way down to there. Just go double check that mock-up to make sure we don't have this disalignment between those panels there. But overall, those mock-ups look nice. All right, down to Aqua Excursions. Make sure to bring the tour facts. Like, you've got quite a bit of space between tour facts and that first question, but on like kayak rental information, there's not really much space at all. Make sure that all those are equal spaced, and I'd go with this lesser space that you have everywhere else. I'd close up that space between the tour facts. Also, you've got some lines of text that are overlapping down here. See how these two are just sitting on top of each other? That tells me they're in multiple text boxes. So again, remember, it's going to be a lot easier to get things to line up well if you're doing all this in one text box rather than doing text boxes for all the different sections. Just do one text box per column, and then use your paragraph and character settings as well as the styles to format these things and add space in between things and stuff like that. That'll help to keep it all consistent and avoid things like this overlap. Now here, we want this bulleted list and this bulleted list to look like this bulleted list and this one. So no big spaces between the bullets. Just close that up. And we, like, up here, when a section ends, then there's some space before going on to the next section. We need that here too. Section ends, we need some extra space before we go on to the next section. And here you see you have a little bit of space between these subheadings and the text. Down in this one, this is getting really close. I'd keep with this little bit of space, but make sure that's consistent on all the subheadings and the text. Okay. Also, make sure your bullet alignment is consistent. Notice on this one, your bullets align with the left side of the text. Same here, but this one, it's indented some. So make sure that they're either all indented some or they're all left aligned. Okay. All right, so any questions on any of that, Donna, just let me know. Let's move on and look at Denise's. Got these Stella foundations. Okay, so those are looking pretty good. And I know we have some mock-ups in another file that I'll go over to in a minute. Now, I would adjust this page. You see how like your file's basically going right up and cutting off the edge of the page, and it looks like there's something bumping on the left. Just adjust its placement on the page so you've got a little bit of padding on the right side so we can clearly see where the packaging ends. I like this circle symbol going across, so that turned out nice. Okay, this one looks nice. So one thing that I would do here, because again, these are going to need to feel like they're part of the same campaign, okay? And you've got this font here for Pure Pacific Northwest, and then down here you have a different font for Pure Pacific Northwest, and then you have another font for the website. And I think this font may be the one you used up here. No, I think that's different. Yeah, I mean, I believe this is even a third font. So what I would do is I would make sure that you're staying within your campaign as far as what font you're using for Pure Pacific Northwest. I like this one here. That's really nice looking with this serif there. So I would change this to be that serif font, and then I would make this website in the same font that you've already used somewhere else. Because right now we've got a lot of fonts going on this page, and we want to minimize that. So I'd make this website the same font that you're doing the Pure Pacific Northwest in as well. And one other thing with this, just to double check. So also make sure it looks like we've got a little bit of a gap between these two pictures on the left, but then none between these two ones. Make sure that we've got the same gap on all of them, or we've got no gap on all of them. I move in this thinking of refinancing, shift that right a little bit so it left aligns with this helping up at the top, just so it's tied in with alignment with the rest of the design. And that I can see you might be running into contest problems there, but you could go with a little smaller font if that happens to save room. Okay. So the magazine For You and Your Money, we're just losing contrast there in certain places, with that black over that. When it hits the darker parts of the green in particular, you start to lose some contrast. Um, you could try that. I mean, white, you're probably going to lose contrast. If you were to give it just a small white stroke, that might help. Or if you were to give it a banner like you've got the ones on the top, that would help. Yeah, something. Make sure to pop that contrast out a bit there. Make sure these two columns, this third column is aligned on the top. So this third column starts one line lower than the first two. Either that, or you could bring the second column down one line, and then it's not the rate, it's the fees would be a little higher than the three columns, and that would look good too. Um, this is pretty wide letting for an article like this. You wouldn't, you want to close that letting, not have those line spaces be quite so close together. I realize that's going to create a lot of extra space that you may not have text for. But one thing you could do to kind of help that, so you've got some space before this no such thing as good debt, but you don't have any before your credit score matters. You could add some space there. You could make it so that the last paragraph doesn't go quite so close to the bottom. But I would bring this letting more in line with what you have on your other pages. Okay. So just make sure this is up, placed with the other Astoria, Oregon ones in your portfolio. make sure, so I would make this yellow background a little bit bigger, or just move the indent in a bit on this text. So there's a little bit of padding against the, we don't want the left side of the text to be right up against the left side of the shape, or the right side of the text to be right up against the right side of the shape either. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions about those, Denise. Let's take a look at Megan's. All right, let's see. Make sure that we're aligning the baselines. Just gonna double check that I am seeing this right, but okay, so you see how the baselines for this page 5 article are a little bit lower than the baselines for this page 6 one. So make sure that we're lining up those baselines across from page 5 to page 6. And make these first line indents quite a bit smaller than this. That's too large for a first line indent. You'd either want that to be half that size or even a fourth that size. And we want to make sure that we're using consistent styling. So here you're using first line indents between to separate paragraphs. Here you're using spaces between the column, or sorry, spaces between the paragraph. So pick one and do it in both places. Make it so that the formatting for this Cherry Blossoms Festival looks like it's in the same style as the formatting for this letter to the editor. Also, you've got a lot of space here between the columns. That gutter is really quite large. You want to have more of a small gutter like these ones here have between those two columns. And get rid of the stroke on this purple line down at the bottom there. Okay. So again, make sure that we've got the same amount of space between each item. So we've got a lot of space here between Geno's combination and Toto's combination, more than we have between anything else. Make sure these are all the same as far as spacing between the items there. We need some more space before sandwiches. And it looks like the line spacing, I don't know, it looks about the same. But yeah, we got to have some more space between sandwiches. Again, we need to make sure that it's consistent space-wise. So there should at least be as much space before sandwiches as there is between the sections, the individual items there. And I would, so if you're centering the pastas and entrees, sandwiches, soups and salads, I would center this first line after the two, the add soup or salad, Geno's salad dressings, because they're related to the title of the section. And so I would just center those with the title. Okay, so yeah, this is more the size of first line indent that you'd want. You see how you've got these more modestly sized first line indents there. And I would shift up this typography a tiny bit just so that you're not losing the bottom of the P, the bottom of the G into that brown. Just give it a little tiny bit of space, but don't go too high, but a tiny bit of space. And the page numbering, so over here we've got one typography and we have typography 2. We want to be consistent in how we're doing this. Either have the page number and the name on the same side as each other and on the same side of the spread. And notice this one's on the outside of the spread, this one's on the inside of the spread. So if your page numbers are on the outside of the spread, they should be on the outside on both sides. If they're on the inside, they should be on the inside on both sides. And a lot of times it's a combination. They'll put the page numbers on the outside of the spread and then the name of the book or the magazine typography on the inside of the spread. So you can move this typography into there, move this page 2 out there, and that would look good. Okay, those look nice. Just make sure we have mock-ups of those. Make sure we're doing space between these two paragraphs here, just like we have it between these two. I'd shift this trim your waistline up just a hair. Get a little further away from that green on the bottom of it. I'd move this finding your route thing down just a hair, just a little bit closer to the map. And move the walking checklist up to the walking checklist title, just like you have these other ones right under the title. Okay. So let me know if you have any questions about those ones. And let's take a look at Kathleen's. So one big thing on this, we really need to make sure we've got a higher resolution for this. This is getting really pixelated, even at the size I'm looking at it at. We want to make sure this looks nice and sharp when it's on your portfolio. We did get, so this is good, making, showing it in a context, although this context looks more like a business card and you've got it on a billboard. So I might use a different mock-up, use a business card mock-up and design this as a business card rather than putting it on a billboard like that. Or you could do the billboard and instead of having all this information, make it look like an ad for the company. And on this Fruitiger one, so you put it on the bag, one, I would not go with this green background. I'd make it look like he was printed directly onto this canvas. So you just get rid of all the background altogether and just use the shapes. But secondly, this one's been squished in, it's narrower. Notice how wide his head is here versus how thin it is there. So make sure you're not distorting it when you place it on there too. All right, and this, so again, we've got this looking like it's a business cards. That's great, but we want to do, first of all, make sure this is higher resolution. We're getting very pixelated here again. I would reduce the size of this address and phone number and website, and I would add an email address, and I'd add the name of the person whose business card it is and their title. Okay. Okay, so with the block. All right, so we've got those lined up now. That's great. Make sure they're all centered. Like this O looks like it's further to the right in there. Use the alignment panel to make sure those letters are all centered in those blocks. And I'd close the space between financial and corporation a little bit. Just bring them a little closer together. Now in here, when you're putting it on this blue background, that green doesn't have enough contrast. It's getting lost in that blue. So I would, just leave that maybe on a white background like you have it in the actual logo. All right, let me fix the spacing on this. Again, though, make sure we're at a good resolution. It gets quite pixelated when I'm looking at these pieces in here at this size. Mock up on there. Okay, Mayfield. Now, this looks like it may have gotten squished a little bit narrow-wise. I think it was a little bit wider before, so if that's the case, put it back to the wider. It feels just a little bit squeezed in from the sides on this one. But good job putting that on the truck there. Okay. All right. So this one, and I'm going to put this in Acrobat because for some reason preview is always messing with the placement of the letters on this one. Okay. Make sure on this again, check the resolution. I'm seeing a lot of pixels in this silhouette of the cats over here. And make sure this and is halfway between the get up and go. You see how it's quite a bit closer to the go than it is to the up right now. And we've got the menu. So again, with equal spacing, so this Geno's Giant Meatballs has some more space between it and the first menu item for that than the other ones have between theirs and the first menu item. So just double check that spacing. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I would get rid of the first line indent after these subheadings. So after designer, just get rid of the first line indent on times, and same with after process, get rid of the first line indent on Morrison. All right, that's looking really good. So one thing, instead of doing this bold, larger A, do that as a drop cap. I would just, make it do a 2-line drop cap. Then you'll get a little bit of a larger A, but instead of going up, it goes down. That'll give it a nice look to it. And make sure, so Custom Adventures is further away from its paragraph than Torfax is from it or About Us. So make sure that Custom Adventures one is the same distance from its paragraph as the other ones are. But otherwise, that's looking really nice. Let's zoom out just a bit on that. So this calendar here, looks like there's another, something that was at the bottom of that kind of peeking up right at the bottom. So just crop that up a little bit so that's not there. All right, so overall this is looking really nice. Now in here, one thing I noticed, whenever you put the Tazo Our Story Unfolds with Every Sip, you've got the left alignment being with the arm of the T, which actually looks kind of nice. I think that can be kind of nice looking. But whenever you do Tazo Quality and Vanilla Bean Pride, Tazo Flavored, it doesn't do that alignment, and it feels a little bit off having it do that alignment in some places and not in others. So even if you were to just take this word flavored and align it with the alignment, that might, yeah, but that's probably going to make that fill off. The simplest fix for this, I think, would just be to take that Our Story Unfolds with Every Sip and left line it with the T instead of the arm so that it brings it in line with everything else. Now, good job getting rid of that white background there. Yeah, otherwise I think this looks really good. All right, so let me know if you have any questions about that one, Cynthia. And let's take a look at Haley's. So again, where we have these, you have this other line that you put there to kind of tile these together, but it's not exact. We have all these little gaps and like areas where it didn't line up quite right. So you want to either get rid of that line and just have it be the gill on top of the sands, or go in and perfect that line so that it's filling this area perfectly and not leaving any of those gaps and overlap areas. Okay, so this is definitely looking better with the font change. I'd get rid of the black stroke on this dark blue bar you have going across, and I'd shift down this kayak tourist sales and service to be a little more centered in that blue bar. And so look on this page, well, actually one thing I'm seeing real quick before I say that. So make sure you got these all left aligned. See how Custom Adventures has a bit of a gap between the left alignment that I just did with this paragraph up above it. So make sure those are all left aligned. And then here you've got the title, and then it's right up against the paragraph below, which I think looks good. Here we've got this extra space between the title and that paragraph below. So get rid of that extra space, bring those right down to the paragraphs. Also, these first line indents on the second lines, make those quite a bit smaller, like either a half or a fourth as big as those are right now. And it looks like you've got a paragraph break here, so you'd want to have another first line indent on the word when there. Looks like this is actually 2 paragraphs. Well, the whole thing's actually 3 paragraphs. Now, this tour package for every taste feels like it's not real, doesn't really have any particular alignment. So maybe you could create an imaginary line from this white stroke right here, maybe this is the alignment. So you have to shift that to our packaging taste over to the right to align with that white line. You want to do something to bring some visual alignment between this tour package for every taste and some other element on the page. Okay. Those are looking good. I would shift up this contains sulfates section so that it's got a baseline alignment with the Phoenix, Arizona on the left and the right. And here in this benefits of green tea section, I would align these second lines, so heart rate, by balancing sugar levels, with the first line of text, not with the number. So don't left line with that 2, but left line with it. Don't left line this one with the 5, but again with it. And then I would personally do that same thing here with the check boxes. And then I'll also get rid of these orphans you have down at the line. If you just make it so that the second and third lines line up with the first word of the first line, not the checkbox. And then let's see here. So these aren't quite aligned. We want those, you've brought them in a little bit, but the and should line up with remove, the boiling should line up with pour, the half should line up with add. Just like a nice clean line down the words text with the numbers on their own out to the left. Okay, and those are looking nice. Just make sure to do some mock-ups of those. All right. So great job on those. Let me know if you have any questions. And Mary, I think we will finish up with yours for the day. So we're on yours next, and then that'll be the last one today. And I'm going to open up yours in Acrobat too. Okay, so on this one, I would bring the whole thing out to the edge of the page. Don't leave this margin around the outside. Let the picture go all the way out into a bleed, and the purple go all the way out to a bleed over there. But then don't move up the text, because then that'll leave a little padding against the text on the top. Okay. And then once that's done, just double check that this text is centered between the left side of that picture and the right side of the page. It probably is, but with this margin right now, it makes it look like it's a little to the right. So once you bring all that out to the outside, just double check that that's centered there. And I'd put fall sale and extra 10% off a little closer together. Those two are directly related. And you could go bigger with this text and kind of bring it down into it a little bit. You're gonna have a lot of space here, and so you could go a bit bigger and let it fill that space a little more. Okay, so good job rearranging that front panel. So now this looks much more like the front of a brochure. This logo is getting pretty pixelated, so see if you've got a higher resolution version of that you can put in there, or a vector one you can put in there. I Honestly, I'd just bring this image all the way out to the right side of the brochure, so to go right up to the edge there. Double check your alignment. You see how the kayak rental is a little bit in from the text below it. So just bring that out to have the same alignment. And then, so do something, okay, so we have under the tour facts, we've got questions, we've got answers, right? So what should I bring on my aqua kayak tour? That's the question. What should I reserve, or should I reserve a double kayak or 2 single kayaks? That's a question. And then do I need prior experience? So change the formatting of the questions so that they have contrast from the answers. That could be with making them bold, would be a simple way to do that. And then make sure you've got the same, so there's quite a bit of space between the end of this paragraph and the do I need prior experience. So make sure they all have the same amount of space. And then I would remove the extra space in this list: water, drink, sunglasses, hat, camera, footwear. I'd make that a bulleted list and make them so they're close together. Also, you've got space between these paragraphs, but over here you've got 2 paragraphs just right up against each other. So make sure to put space there too. And then these lines of text here, it's particularly these 2 lines are seeming to get a little further apart. Just check the leading on those 2 lines there. So, and again, make sure your space between paragraphs is the same. So we've got pretty wide space between those paragraphs and just very little space between the paragraphs over here. So just make sure you've got like a specific, and there's none actually in between these ones. Make sure you've got a specific set of space between paragraphs and keep it that way on all of them. And again, so this is a little bit further to the left than the text. See how a tour package is there, and then this pops in a little bit. And again, that's usually when we're using multiple text boxes. The easiest way to do this is to just put them all in one text box and then use the formatting tools to space them and everything, rather than trying to have a text box for the subtitle, a text box for these paragraphs, text box for the next subtitle. That makes it really difficult to make sure everything's lined up and spaced correctly. When I'm doing these, I just have one big text box for this column, one big text box for this column, and then one big text box for the text in this column. And then I'd use my formatting tools to space those, change the font, do whatever I needed in those text boxes. And then check this font here. So these are all a sans serif font. And then just in this Ocean Adventure Tours, it's a serif font. So just go double check and make sure that's the same font that you have in the other ones. And then I'd shift this text over here, the private adventure tour text. I just shift it up a little bit so there's not as, right now you've got a lot of space above it, but like very little space below it. So I just kind of shift it up so it's, got space above it and below it. And then I would just close these lines of leading on the address and phone number. I just bring those closer together. Okay. All right, so looking at your magazine. So just check, this looks really nice, but just check this barcode. If you look, it's getting cut off. So just go in and tell that image to fit proportionally within that frame. I like this ingredient though they used, or this font they used for the main ingredient. It's nice. So here you moved some of it to the right, but we want to get it all off of that green and we want it all left aligned. So a nice clean line of text going down the left, but with a little bit of space between it, probably about where this feature article is. If you were just to line up all this text below that, would left align that with that feature article, that would look good. And make sure that these have the same amount of space between them. So notice there's more space between becoming a mindful eating master and a new way to grill than there is between a new way to grill and fresh and fast family salads. And there's even less between the next two. So just make sure those all have the same amount of space between them. This text over here is looking nice now. And then I would move this continued on page 7 right to be right here, just after the article ends. Because then, again, with proximity, as someone's reading, they're going to hit this point, and that's where they would then see continued on page 7, rather than going all the way down to the bottom right of the page for that. Whoops, jumping ahead here. Okay. So this is looking good. I would probably move this picture down so that these two pictures align on the bottom. All right, that one's looking nice. I'd shift this paragraph here, the use the entire herb, move that text up so that it's lining up with tools are important at the top, so that this paragraph doesn't start lower than this column doesn't start lower than this column. And that's, and double check. So I didn't notice on the other pages, but it might be the same on those ones too. So just double check this on all the pages. Make sure, boy, that just wants to jump to the next page so bad. I wonder if nice and slow here. Jesus, want to see the bottom of the page. Okay, so make sure the main ingredient November 2016 is centered with this 43 if you're going to align it, if you're going to format it this way. Right now, the 43 is quite a bit left in that, and so make sure that's all centered on the page with each other. Okay. Make sure, so you've got, like if you look at drying herb and then the paragraph's just right underneath it, do the same thing here. Bring the paragraph up so it's right under practice mindful eating, and you don't have that extra space there. It looks like we're missing the page number on this page too. Okay, so that's looking nice. Just go in and double check that this North Carolina text isn't stretched. It looks a little bit squished, but otherwise I think that's really nice and good color palette, particularly with this image. And that's nice looking as well. And then on the menu, so I would probably do something to the formatting for the categories to make them stand out a little more, okay? So maybe you could go a little bit bigger, for example, or use a contrasting font, but something that makes these, like the sandwiches, pastas and entrees, pizza, you just stand out a bit from, Gino's beverages. And then you want to add one here for these are the salads, so you just add a heading for salads. The leaders look nice there with the prices. And then make sure that you're over here, the legendary combinations it's a bit closer to what's above it than what's below it. make sure that, again, just shift that down so it's closer to Geno's combination, and make sure that's the same with all of the headings, like stuff with flavor or baked to perfection, so on and so forth. Now this is nice looking, but again, very low resolution. It's looking very pixelated. So we'd want to have a higher resolution version of it and just have it be that this is the size of the page rather than having this just be on a page. Make it so this is the page. This billboard is the dimensions of the page, and then higher resolution. And with this one, this image looks like it's gotten stretched there. So you want to go in and adjust the proportions of that. And then we've got some things, zoom in here. See, we've got a gap at the top here. The background isn't quite all the way up. And we've got a gap here where this pink Fayetteville thing isn't fitting within this maroon placeholder completely. There's one over the right too. And then we have kind of a white line here where the pieces are joining together. So we'd want to, get rid of all those. What I would do here is just rather than have multiple pieces for the background, just do one solid maroon piece that is the whole background, and bring it all the way out to the bleed so you know you're not going to get any white lines anywhere. And then make a frame on that for this picture, put the picture in there, and make sure to say that you want to fill the frame proportionally so it doesn't stretch it at all. And then you would make a frame for this section here and just place that on top of that maroon background so you don't get these white things around the outside. All right. And so same here, this one looks nice, but we just need to make sure that we have a higher resolution of it so that it doesn't get this pixelization, just a nice sharp resolution to put on your portfolio. Okay. So any questions about any of that at all, Mary? Okay, well, then that is everything I have to go over for today. On Thursday, we'll finish these critiques. And of course, be sure and let me know. Get the mock-up on some. Yeah, that'd definitely be good. Okay, well, just let me know if you run into anything over the next few days. And again, remember, Christy's available as well. And you guys have definitely come a long way with these over the mod, so I appreciate all your hard work on these things. I know it can be a lot of work and rather tedious, but this is what it takes to get them, to get them all professional and ready to show some potential employers. And otherwise, have a great couple of days, and I will just plan on seeing you on Thursday. Okay? Have a good one. See ya.